The House just passed an additional $60 billion for the war in Iran. Think about what we could do with this money. We could have free public college for every American. We could expand dental, vision, and hearing for our seniors. We could have free childcare for every American. Instead, we're pouring $60 billion more in a war that is costing Americans our lives, increasing food prices, and increasing gas prices. It's time to end the war and focus on investment here at home.
A bill just passed the House that permanently ties America's military technology to Israel's, and the vote isn't what you would expect.
On this vote, the yeas are 216, the nays are 212. The bill is passed.
I need you to hear me. It's called Section 219, and it's buried inside a $1.15 trillion defense bill. This permanent merger includes research, testing, and supply chain, with a dedicated Pentagon official to run it. Supporters call it a cooperation between allies, while critics call it a threat against American sovereignty. The House passed it 216 to 212, but forget left versus right for a second because both sides are split. 7 Republicans voted no, with Thomas Massie leading the charge. He called it dangerous and lopsided in favor of Israel. And 6 Democrats crossed over to vote yes. That includes Henry Cuellar and Jared Golden. Even AOC agreed that this was a threat against American sovereignty. Here's what matters. This isn't law yet. The Senate still has to move.
You might have seen news recently that the United States is ending military aid to Israel in an effort backed by both Republicans and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu himself. That might sound like the US pulling back from its relationship with Israel, but it's not. This is a smokescreen. Take a look at this national defense bill that Congress is trying to use to actually push the United States military and Israel closer together than ever before. Just 5 pages buried in this 500-page defense bill is a section titled United States-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. It talks about facilitating transition of technologies, establishing frameworks, promoting joint training. But what does this all actually mean? If you strip away the jargon, this bill integrates Israel into the United States military permanently. It creates a new position at the Pentagon, and this person's sole job will be to find ways to integrate Israeli tech into the US military, to fund new research for new technology for both militaries, and to ensure that both countries are buying new tech and new weapons together. This is a huge change, and it's an important one. See, previously, the United States had a memorandum of understanding with Israel. The current MOU was passed under President Obama, and it was signed in 2016. It runs through 2028, and it guarantees $3.3 billion per year for Israel to be used on American weapons free of charge. Last year, it was reported that Israel was seeking a 20-year MOU when the current MOU expires in 2028. So that would mean 20 years of guaranteed locked-in support across administrations without negotiation. Sounds like a pretty good deal for Israel. Just one problem: this idea is deeply unpopular. 60% of US adults have an unfavorable view of Israel, 80% of Democrats. Members of Congress know this. They still want to give support to Israel to appease their donors, but they don't want to be seen doing this unpopular thing publicly. So this bill takes a new approach. No 20-year agreement anymore. Instead of negotiating an agreement and giving foreign aid to Israel every year that will upset their voters, just bring the Israeli military further into the fold. Make the US reliant on Israeli defense companies. Make Israel do the same. Train together, research together, fuse the two militaries to such a degree that future administrations will find it nearly impossible to undo, no matter how much public opinion shifts. And pretend that you're doing the opposite, that you're pushing the two countries further apart. Netanyahu said himself in a letter to pro-Israeli Congressman Marlin Stutzman that this is the direction he always wanted to move, from Israel as an aid recipient to a full partner, with more influence and more input, not less. This hasn't passed a House vote yet and is still being debated, but supporters of Section 224 know what they're doing here, and they're trying to trick you.
The House just approved a massive $1.5 trillion spending package, and then tacked on another $95 billion security package right on top of it. We are talking about nearly $1.6 trillion moving through Washington. So let's do a quick reality check. With grocery bills through the roof, rent eating up half of your paycheck, and basic everyday living getting harder to stretch, guess how much of that $1.6 trillion goes to direct relief for American families? Zero. Not a single dollar shows up in your bank account, lowers your bills at the register, or helps you pay your mortgage. So where does almost $1.6 trillion actually go? Well, the $1.5 trillion is standard federal discretionary spending. It keeps federal departments open, it pays government workers, it pours hundreds of billions into defense contractors, weapons manufacturing, and military operations. That extra $95 billion, that's almost entirely foreign aid and international defense replenishment. None of these packages are designed for everyday people. Direct family aid like child tax credits, housing relief, or grocery subsidies isn't even on the table in these bills. When Capitol Hill talks about keeping the country running, they mean funding the federal apparatus, not helping your household budget. The disconnect between Congress's budget and your family's reality has never been wider. Drop a comment below. What's the single biggest expense destroying your budget right now?
Free childcare for everyone in America. Free college for everyone in America. Free dental and vision for seniors in America. That's what $60 billion buys. Congress just gave the military $60 billion. Do you know what that gets us? Higher gas prices. We get higher gas prices, and all it cost us was $60 billion more dollars than we've already spent. You guys are doing terrific. This is on top of an already incomprehensible military budget. A budget that is so large, the next 20 countries combined don't even come close. The same people that take our tax money to buy bombs from corporations to bomb children in the Middle East tell you that we don't have the money for your cancer medication, Grandma. This is the greatest country on earth, they say to your face. It's unreal.
The U.S. owes $39.5 trillion with a T dollars in debt. That accounts to about $115,000 per American. And in 2026, the Trump administration is asking the U.S. taxpayers to fund $1.15 trillion to the U.S. military. Mind you, that is a $500 million increase from what they asked last year. And when I think about the fact that he is asking this after he allowed Doge to go in and wreak havoc on the federal government, it truly pisses me off because they eliminated about $900 million from the Department of Education. They eliminated complete departments within, like the Center for Disease Control. They eliminated 50% of child care offices, 50% of Head Start offices, and this doesn't even begin to cut all the people that are going to be cut off food stamps, all the people that are going to be cut off health care, all the people that are going to be cut off of these vital social welfare programs that they need to survive. And we haven't even gotten to inflation, how bad the economy is, the homelessness, the food insecurity, etc. And I normally don't tell y'all what to do because you've grown. However, everybody needs to call up their congressional reps and let them know you do not support this $1.15 trillion funding request and you would like them to deny it. And honestly, while you're on the phone with them, tell them they need to end the war. Tell them not to approve the $86.7 billion funding request from Pete Hegseth. Tell them they need to reduce inflation. Tell them they need to provide more affordable housing. And tell them that everybody needs health care. I'm Ashley with the Nye, bringing you news on days that end in Y. Thank you for watching.
Did the House just vote to merge the U.S. and Israel's military together? Technically no, but technically not no. Did they just pass a bill that, if it passes through the Senate, makes it almost impossible for the U.S. to cut off military aid to Israel? Yes. Here's the facts about what this bill actually is. Part 1 is that Israeli weapons tech will get built into all U.S. weapons manufacturing. Our drones, our missile defense, our supply chain, once it is in there, it is going to be almost impossible to remove it. Part 2 would prohibit any future president from being able to withhold or not give intelligence to Israel as a result of them abusing human rights. Think of this like moving in with somebody, but you're not married, but you're in a long-term partnership with them, and you decide that you're gonna get a mortgage together, you're gonna get a car together, you're gonna pay cell phones, subscriptions, your grocery bills, your finances. Everything gets merged together. You're not technically married, but good luck when you break up trying to eliminate all of that. In regards to intelligent sharing and intelligent withholding, this is a one-way door. Once we go through this door, we can't exit it. But here's the key part, because you might be wondering, how does this impact future votes on weapons packages and aid to Israel? By merging together weapons production with Israeli technology, it makes a vote almost completely unnecessary and pointless in the future. Because if their technology is integrated into our weapons, it becomes a Pentagon budget line item rather than an aid package. It makes voting against Israeli military weapons voting against US military production. It no longer becomes budget for weapon sales to Israel, it just becomes budget for weapons production overall.
Hi, so there is a lot of confusion about what's happening with the SAVE Act right now. Even I was confused. So let's try to get to the bottom of it. The SAVE Act, of course, is Republicans' voter suppression bill that would require a passport and or birth certificate to register to vote. Republicans are trying to squeeze it into a couple of different bills in a couple of different ways. I'm going to explain how so we can fight back, and there's a call scraped at the end. First, Republicans in the House yesterday passed their version of the NDAA, that's the National Defense Authorization Act. They got 6 Democratic votes. Without them, it wouldn't have passed. And the NDAA is that huge bill that, among other things, contains that Section 219, which is the U.S.-Israeli military sort of merger, and also $1.15 trillion more for the war in Iran. Now, the NDAA text does not include the SAVE Act, but Republicans stapled the SAVE Act to it so that they send it over to the Senate with the SAVE Act attached as a sweetener, because Republicans love their voter suppression, and they're hoping it'll help them pass the bill. Then there is another bill. This is the reconciliation bill, the budget bill that Republicans passed just a framework for in the House yesterday. This kind of bill, you may recall, can't be filibustered in the Senate by Democrats. It's the same way they passed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and the ICE funding bill. And this is the other bill that they're trying to sneak the SAVE Act into. So this bill is $95 billion in total. 73 of that is for the war in Iran. 12 billion of it goes to bail out farmers who have been hurt by, guess what, Trump's tariffs. And then $10 billion of it is to give to states so that they can enforce certain portions of the SAVE Act. It's really unclear whether this can and will pass in the Senate for a variety of reasons. Now let's go back to the NDAA for a second, which has the SAVE Act stapled to it. Now apparently when it gets over to the Senate, they can just tear the SAVE Act off of it and consider the NDAA without it. Or the Senate can just pass their own version of the NDAA and then try to reconcile their version with the House version later. Or they could try to pass the SAVE Act attached to the NDAA, but it won't pass because Democrats will filibuster it. So is it bad? Yes. Is it the worst case scenario yet? No. So what we need to do is just keep calling our senators especially and telling them no more money for the Iran war and no SAVE Act in any form in any bill. Republicans are trying to take away our vote because they know that they are so wildly unpopular and they refuse to change their policies to please their voters. It's gross, it's unsustainable, and we deserve better. So tell everyone you know to light up those phones.
People can do what they want. I'm not here to be the belief police around here.
But isn't there concern that, this slippery slope towards socialism inevitably ends up as full-blown communism? I mean, no?
I'm not concerned about America turning into a communist country in like a year. That is like, I think that is, oh sorry. I think I think it's very silly. You just think about how impossible it has been to raise the minimum wage in America in 10, 15, 20 years. We can't even raise the minimum wage. Do Republicans really think that this stuff is going to happen? No, they don't. They're trying to scare people because they don't want us talking about the fact that we all have a right to health care in this country. So they want to call it communist, and they want to call everything they don't like communist, because if people actually wake up to the fact that their elected officials are screwing them over when they get here, then they're going to realize that they deserve better, and that healthcare as a right isn't crazy, it isn't pie in the sky. They want to call this stuff communist because they don't want us to realize that the rest of the developed world has guaranteed healthcare in this country. So they want to call it communist because they don't want you to know that Germany, Italy, the UK, Canada, everybody else has it better than us, and we spend the most amount of money for the worst care in the modern developed world.
But Democrats
all of the Red Hatters who stood firm on no new wars and made that one of your biggest reasons for voting for Trump again, even though we all know what the main reason really is. Step to the front of the congregation, please, and explain what new excuse y'all are going to come up with this time around to defend all of this happening and why we are giving more money to the military, over $1 trillion, when gas is $4 a gallon, higher in some places. Eggs and food and everything is unsafe to eat because Trump made cuts to the people who kept the regulations and the inspections in place to where our food and our produce and dairy and everything is safe to eat. What about those high grocery bills and costs that y'all are complaining about, which all lead back to the Iran war? But yet we have an additional $1 trillion to give to them? Explain that and explain how that's going to make everything more affordable. But yet these are the same people who don't want universal health care that would benefit every American. They want it for themselves. If they could only vote for themselves to have it, oh, they would have had that a long time ago if it could exclude minorities and immigrants. It's really crazy that we have like such a backwards mindset on what we decide to fund each and every year. Now, don't get this as me saying that we need to like defund the military. As you guys will see on the screen, we have obviously the highest budget devoted towards our military, more than the next 6 countries that follow behind us combined, and it still does not exceed what we spend. $954 billion goes to our military. Obviously, we're the highest out of anyone in the world. And I think if I read correctly, China is number 2, and they only spend 1/3 of what we spend on our military. Now, just from what I've seen in the Google AI screenshot that you guys will see, it looks like a lot of that goes towards really advanced equipment and training and a whole multitude of other things. And do not get me wrong, I feel like having a strong military, it's important. I want service members to be able to have everything that they need and have the government invest in them. There's nothing wrong with that, because I want our service members to be able to feel like they're supported and they don't have to put their lives on the line for basically no pay. But at the same time, are veterans, people who have served in the past, getting those same benefits? Because from what I hear, it feels like a lot of people, once they leave the military, they often feel neglected. Now, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouths. I don't know anyone who's actively serving. I have had family members who have served in the past. So, and I just want to put this out here too. If anyone has any experience, if you've served, if a family member of yours has served or a friend, let me know what they have mentioned to you in passing or anything of like how things are nowadays in our military and like serving and like what it's like when it comes to their housing and pay and everything and like their health care and benefits. Please definitely let me know down below. I know this video is not going to really get that much reach. If I get 100 views on this video, I'd be lucky. But I just like to put it out there because I never want to make it seem like I'm a know-it-all, because I'm just a regular girl. I'm just a girl, like the kids say. I work a 9 to 5, so I do not know the inner workings, and I am not very well versed on everything that happens with the military. I appreciate everyone who has served in our military at whatever point. And I appreciate our service members now because, like I said, they keep us safe. Yes, it's important to support our military. What about the people at home? Like, all of this spending does nothing for the American people, like the average American. Like, we are not reaping any additional benefits from this. Like, how is this going to make housing more affordable for just the non-service member? How are we going to get health care? How are we going to get affordable groceries and housing? It just does not make any sense. And these same people who are going to want to defend all of this spending are going to be the same ones who do not want universal health care and housing and allow people to go to school, which is crazy because we would all benefit, especially from universal health care. So why don't you want that, but you're okay with trillions of dollars going towards things that's not going to actively benefit the average American in their everyday lives? Like, it will just never make sense to me. It's okay to defend all of this other stuff, but having like things put in place to where everyone would be able to access healthcare when they need it, not just random other people. You would actually get to benefit from it too when you need it, but somehow that's like out of the question. Like, I will never understand this. It is insane that we're the biggest country in the world, like GDP wise and everything, but we are still struggling to try to fight for universal health care. I know a lot of countries in Europe and I think even in Asia and I think like Australia and stuff, they all have universal health care. So why can't we? I feel like we all know the reason to that, but like I said, it just will never ever make sense, in my opinion, why we could let things like this happen. We're literally going to be merging militaries. I don't know, and I apologize. I want to say this too. If a lot of the videos seem repetitive in this video, I just wanted to put it out there because I feel each creator mentioned something a little bit different that might help make things a little bit more clear for whoever may watch this video. It cleared up a little bit for me, but I'm still a little confused on the Israel thing a little bit still, because if it says we're merging, but we're really not, that part I don't understand. But another thing that I don't understand is, why do we need to merge militaries? I'm just going to use that terminology, y'all. I know it might not literally be a merger, but from the language a lot of the creators were saying and using, it sounds like we're merging. And the fact that we won't be able to back out if this thing is able to get passed, I just don't understand why we need to do that. I mean, obviously, Israel is going to benefit from this majorly, but like, what's going to be in it for the US? It's putting us in even more danger because we don't need to be merging with a country that is committing genocide. And that is really, really crazy that this is even a thing that was drafted into a bill, in my opinion, but that could be a whole nother thing. And I do find it interesting that it's 6 Democrats that went across the aisle and still voted for this. And I'll have their names at some point. I don't know if they flashed across the screen, but there was the one clip towards the end as well with those Congress people. And make note, if you live in any of those states like California, Texas, Maine, Washington, North Carolina, if you live in any of those states. Now, I don't know who out of those 6 are up for re-election. I feel like in the comment section of some of the videos, I feel like some people mentioned that Adam Gray from California is up for re-election. If you live in his district, you know what you have to do. Because what also struck me is whenever I saw the list, I'm like, a lot of these names kind of look familiar. So what did I find out? It's basically the same people except for Tom Suozzi, who is also a flip-flopper, but I don't know if he just didn't vote for this one or what happened, or if he voted against it. I don't know, but he was a flip-flopper too for a lot of things. But these are the same people, I think maybe with the exception of one, that also voted to end the government shutdown, which would have helped advance the Affordable Care Act subsidies. So it's very much giving paid under the table, giving flip-flop and wanting to appease the Republicans and getting some of that under the table money from AIPAC as well. Because I just do not feel that it's a coincidence that it's the same people that voted against Democrats for major legislation like this I don't just think that's just something that just so happened. Like, this was very deliberate in my opinion, because the two names I recognized was Cuellar, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name, and I recognized Perez. That's the two that I noticed first. And I see Cuellar always votes kind of in a flip-floppy way like this. And when I looked it up, he's been serving since 2005, which is insane. But he is definitely playing both sides, because now that I found out he is hit, well, rather his district is in the RGV area of Texas, which is the Rio Grande Valley, they went overwhelmingly for Trump. So he is definitely trying to play both sides so he could appease to the constituents who are happy with what he's doing, oddly enough, but he still wants to have that Democrat next to his name so that if he is up for re-election, he could still kind of maneuver himself back into being re-elected. I see what he's trying to do, but like I said, look into these people if they are in your area, or, well, I should say if they're in your district, and vote accordingly. I included the clip of AOC in there because I wanted to put it as something to kind of keep mindful of. They're going to use like this communism thing to make it seem like, you know, Democrats just want everything to get to a communist state and you have to fight against it, blah, blah, blah. But just really think about it. Imagine if you fell sick or if something happened, you could just go to the hospital and not have to worry about it. Now, I know there would be some nuanced things that would go into universal health care. Trust me, I know it would not just be that simple, but imagine if you got sick unexpectedly, like if you had a heart attack or just something that came abruptly and you are able to make it through and you have hospital bills up the wazoo that you have to think about. But yet we could send billions of dollars overseas into different countries, which they're probably funneling all of our taxpayer dollars, something that you're not directly benefiting from, and you're okay with it. But universal health care so that everyone could, you know, have the ability to go get medical treatment if they need it. That's, oh no, you better go get off your ass and work if you want to do that. What sense does that make? It just will never ask this in every video. Nothing about any of the things that they do is gonna ever make sense because it's just so ass backwards. We are okay with giving international aid for another country to benefit off of our taxpayer dollars, but our own American citizens can't reap benefits that they pay into with their taxpayer dollars. It's insanity, the fact that they try to make you afraid to want that. Ugh. I don't even know what to say. I sound crazy, but it's just such a sad world that we live in, that this is what is like the priority. Like, to me, every single time like Congress is in session, I don't know what you call it, you guys, there might be a more appropriate word, but I feel like every bill that should be introduced should be something to make the lives of Americans better and make it more affordable. But yet it kind of seems like it's the opposite that's happening. Yeah, that's just another day in America. And I honestly do feel like they are laying the groundwork right now. They know it's going to be a blue wave in November. And I honestly think the Iran war is just going to be something that's in effect for the rest of Trump's term. It might even be harder for the next president to get out of this. Honestly, I'm almost ready to like bet on that, because they're laying the groundwork so that whenever the most likely going to be Democrat president comes into office after Trump's term is over, if he even decides to leave, hopefully they will force him out because we know that's what's coming. It's just going to be hard for them to undo. And then what is going to happen? Republicans are going to use it as an excuse, like the Democratic president is not doing what they're supposed to. They're making everything more expensive, but yet they're in control now and everything is expensive, but there's not that much backlash yet. But they are going to hype up the outrage whenever it's going to be the Democratic president in 2029 when they take office. when they're not making things affordable cheap enough. They're going to hold that Democratic president to a way higher standard to make things affordable. And when it doesn't happen fast enough, oh, they are going to be on that president's ass about it. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, another day we're one step closer to this man being out of office. But it's one more day for things to get even worse than what it already is right now. But definitely let me know what you guys think about any of this. I definitely want to hear your thoughts down below. And if you made it this far, I appreciate you as always. Thank you so much. And don't forget to like and subscribe. If you found any value in this video, please consider, because it would help to grow the channel, because the algorithm is algorithming right now and I'm not having any motion, if I could be for real with y'all. But it's okay. I make these videos just for the random watcher and my handful of day ones that rock with me. Very helpful, and it's free. It's the last thing that's free. It doesn't take any of your taxpayer dollars. It doesn't cost you anything. It's the last free thing that you have in this society. But anyway, thank you so much, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye. See you later.